not enough for you guys to be able to master software. It's just enough to just scratch the surface of how to use the software. So ideally, for every hour that you spend inside the lab, you should be spending at least 3 hours at home figuring it out. So within a week, about 12 hours of trying to figure out how to use AutoCAD. There's no way that you can learn everything you need to learn in these 3 hours. A lot of it comes from your own practice, watching videos online, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. Now for electrical guys, I don't know if you guys ever touched this again in the rest of your studies. I doubt it. Maybe a version, but nothing like quite like this. For the mechanical guys, we use the same principles of how to draw and how to model, but we apply it to different softwares. And for the civil guys, this is your bread and butter. This is your software. So if you're enrolled in civil, it's in your best interest to learn how to use AutoCAD to its fullest. Right, so now I'm going to demonstrate how to do the fillet, how to apply our fillet to this in between these two lines. So we can go up here to our fillet tool in our modify tab, or we can type in fillet. Now it says to select first object, but first you have to specify the fillet radius. To do that, you have to type in R, then enter. Now it says specify a radius. Right now our fillet radius is set to 0. So if you had tried to do fillet before and it wasn't working, it's because our fillet radius was 0. So if you change your fillet radius now to 10, enter, and then you select your lines, you should be able to fillet. So again, fillet, R, enter, set your radius, and then specify the lines that you want to fillet. By pressing spacebar, you can automatically recall the last command you had. So I don't know if I mentioned it last week, like when you draw a line and then you escape to exit the line tool, but now you want to draw another line from this point down, rather than going and clicking on line, if you just hit spacebar, you're automatically back inside the last command that you had. Right, the same thing works for fillets and pretty much every other command. So instead of typing in fillet again, so instead of going here and selecting fillet again, I'll just hit spacebar, and then I can access my fillet tool again. Okay, there will be recordings uploaded either at the end of today or early Monday for this session. So if you aren't quite clear on some of the commands, you can go back and watch the video recording. This lab is due next week, Saturday. Okay, don't forget there's a line that goes from this point right to your center line. If you look on your drawing, right, you got this line that goes right to the center. You could go and draw a line if you want from that point and join it across, or you could just extend your line. So if you click on a line, you have 3 reference points on that line. You have the 2 ends and then the middle of that line. If you click on the middle, you'll be able to move the line. Okay. If you click on the ends, you can extend that line. So I'll click on this end, and now I can extend it or stretch it to my center point. I want you to use the same method of extending lines for your center lines. Extend them by a distance of 5 mm on both sides. Okay, so now I'm gonna draw the plan elevation based off this front elevation that we have. Now you can draw lines if you want. So you can draw a line from this point down and then draw your circle starting from there. That's one way to do it. But an easier way to do it is to make sure that all of your snapping tools are turned on, especially your apparent intersection. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start the circle command. So I'm going to choose a center and diameter. I'm going to just move my mouse over the reference point where I want my center of my circle to line with. So I want it to line up with this point here. And I'll just move my mouse down. I'm not clicking there or anything. I'm just moving my mouse over it and then moving my mouse down. This green projected line is one of the features of AutoCAD, which allows you to set up different relationships between different reference points. So for me, my reference point was the end of this line. And if I move my mouse down, it now creates a collinear relationship between my vertical center line. And then down here, anywhere I can just click and start my circle, set the diameter to 38. And I know it's perfectly in line with the center line of this elevation. So again, I select the circle that I want to use. So I want to use center and diameter. I just move my mouse over that point and then just move it down until I start to see that green projected line. Then at some distance, start my circle. There's no particular distance between your elevations. It's just so that you have enough space in your layout space. When you finally come to your layout space, there's enough space between your two elevations where it doesn't get mixed up. So we have 38, 56, 75. Again, I'm using center and diameter as my circle style, not center radius, center diameter. Right now, drawing my line from this point to this point, I can enter my distance because I already know it's 113. But for next week's activity, we'll be using a lot more of these kinds of relationships, how I demonstrated for drawing that circle. So what I'll do is I'll start my line command, start my line at this point, and I want my reference point to be this line here, this line and this point. So I will just start my line there. I won't click, I'll just move my mouse over that point and then move it down. That green generated line is called an apparent intersection. Now, if I measure that, I should get 113. Okay, so there's lots of different ways that you can approach drawing. You can use all of the tools offered by the software, or you can enter the values yourself. So again, for this point here, like there's a line that goes across, right across here. Instead of measuring the distance, 28, and then drawing a line down, what I'll do is I'll start my line command. I want it to line up with this line here. So I'll use this as my reference point, not clicking, moving down. It generates that green path. Now, if I start my line here and draw it down, the distance should be 28. And it is 28. How many of you brought your private vehicles this morning to come to class? Just be advised that the roads down here will be closed at 12. So the entrance down here and the one at the back seawall will be closed. Only entrance out will be the top one. They're closing it down for the game this afternoon.
Benny, are you talking about the distance between this line and this line being 9.5? Because if you are, then that's correct. 9.5 from this line to this hidden line. Oh, sorry. Sorry. For the top diagram, sorry. From the center line to this hidden line, yes, that is 9.5. Okay, so I'm at this point, I'm just left to draw the keyway, right? So I'll start my line command. I can either start from here and draw a line that's 41 to find where that keyway intersects the center line, or I can again use the relationships. So relation between this point, move down until it intersects with my center line. Either way, you should have a distance of 3 mm between these two lines. Between your keyway and this diameter, there should be a distance of 3 mm. From there, I'll draw a line that goes up 5 mm. And then the line will come and intersect my center line. Right, so I'll do the same again for the bottom. So a line that comes down 5 mm and then intersects my center line. And all I'll do is I'll just trim these lines off. Trim this line, trim this line, this line, and this line. So I'll go to trim. Get rid of those sections. Right, once we reach this point, this is the end of the drawing stage. Now it comes to changing line weights, changing line types. These are all new things for this lab. So I'll give you guys another 5 minutes and then hopefully we can move together as a class, finish this activity off. Again, remote students, this recording will end in about 5 minutes, at which point I'll start a new recording using the same login information for us to continue the activity.